It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, answer, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Love to have you along for the ride as well, whether you're listening on 106.9 FM or 1390 AM, streaming at 1069thefan.com or on the mobile app, the 1069 The Fan mobile app, or maybe you're listening on the podcast feed. Appreciate you being along with us wherever and however you may be tuning in. And, of course, if you want to be a part of the show, always invite you to text us on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321, and let us know what's on your mind. And it could be at any time. If you're listening to the podcast at maybe on your morning run, or if you're doing this, if you put the kids to bed, whatever, whenever it's convenient for you, and some of the conversation sparks an idea or a question, just feel free to hit the text line whenever it's convenient, and we'll try to address it in the show when we can, when it makes sense. So 435-339-0321 is the Full Court Press text line, sponsored by Young Power Sports of Logan. Last hour, a lot of talk about Utah State basketball. Aggie's getting ready for Air Force tonight, take on the Academy later this evening, 7 o'clock tip. And we'll have pregame coverage on our sister station, KVNU, starting at 6 with J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes, and Jalen Moore. And then full play-by-play on KVNU when the game is done. And after the coach's comments, it'll be your turn to sound off on what you saw or heard for Utah State with KVNU Aggie Call later this evening. But shifting gears from basketball to football, I know we got some texts that have come in on some hoop stuff. We'll get to that in just a minute. But it's portal season, Jason, and the portal is open. Players have announced their intentions to enter. They even shared some screenshots of filling out their information that they are officially in the portal. But we've also seen some players starting to announce where they are headed out of the portal. But before we get into that, you've crunched some numbers looking at with players graduating and those that are announcing that they're in the portal. Gives us a better picture of kind of areas of need, maybe areas of focus for Coach Mendenhall and his coaching staff to get players out of the portal.
Yeah, so I know kind of on the show last week while you were gone, somebody brought up the text line. I started kind of going through it in my head, and I was like, well, this might be kind of rough with how many players are graduating. But I needed to go back and crunch the numbers and see exactly what was going on. And so I went back and I looked at number of snaps played, because I like to use that just kind of as a reflection of, okay, how much have you lost? And it helps especially for some position groups, especially the offensive line, defensive line, even tight end, positions that don't have a whole lot of stats, so to speak, where you're not going to get a reflection of returning production if you just say, well, how much returning, passing, receiving, and tackles do you have? Because like percentage of returning tackles is like zero reflection of how much returning talent you have on your defense. Because that's like, okay, are you returning your top linebackers? Like that's kind of
it's not really a true picture of
like you could like return your top 3 leading tacklers and nobody else, and you'd be returning like 80% of your returning production. So I like to use snaps. Now there's value in and I'll probably at some point crunch numbers on like those returning numbers, because there is value in using that. It's just there's a reason I lean toward using snaps. And so I'll go position by position group. So quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight end, O-line, defensive tackles, edge rushers, linebackers, corners, and safeties. So those are kind of where I've broken it down. Quarterback, not surprising, basically everything's gone. CJ Tiller played 5 snaps, and he's what's returning. So less than 1% of returning snaps for the Aggies at quarterback. But that's something that you can generally overcome as long as you find a quality starter wherever he comes from, wherever, whether it's CJ Tiller or a new freshman, like as long as you find a starter, like it's not that hard to replace, losing basically all of your quarterback snaps played, because it's a one-man position group typically, at least functionally for most games. It's a one-man position group. Running back, you lose Miles Davis, and that's kind of the majority of what they lose there. Derek Jameson is leaving, but I think he's transferring. I don't know if he actually played any running back snaps. He played a few special team snaps. But you return Javen Jacobs and Noah White, so they return 57% of their snaps played at running back. So pretty solid. You lose your starter and kind of one half of the 1-2 punch they had in the running back room, but they return a little over half of their production, which is pretty solid. Wide receiver, basically everyone except Anthony Garcia, which amounts to the Aggies returning about 20% of snaps played. As Anthony Garcia remains on the roster for now. I don't know if he's planning on transferring. You'd have to ask him.
Hope not.
Yeah, I certainly hope not, because he could be a valuable returner for the Aggies, somebody with experience, with a lot of the coaches. Obviously, offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach is gone, but some familiarity within the wide receiver room would certainly help. Tight end, Cash Cat. How do you say his name? It's Kaio, and I don't know how to say it.
Ko?
So it is. Yeah, the guy who transferred him from Snow College played a little bit, especially where Brock Lane and Josh Sturzer were injured. Both Lane and Sturzer are now out of eligibility after their very long careers with the Aggies, and so yeah, basically it's Cash, and that's it. You got to replace most of what you got at tight end. You had 2 guys who were injured, unfortunately, a little too often. That was something that's unfortunately out of their control. But when they were healthy, were solid producers, solid blockers, nothing spectacular production-wise, at least as far as receivers, but good starters. So you have to replace you had 2 starting caliber tight ends on your roster. Now you have, well, we'll see if Cash Ko can be a starting caliber tight end, or where they're likely going to pick up some more through the portal. Because they have, I think, a couple freshman tight ends, at least one freshman tight end coming in, but it's hard to play a position like tight end as a freshman, because it's like offensive line. You got to be bulky. It's really hard for some of these guys to start right away. And then offensive line, there's some people are thinking like, we're losing so many offensive linemen. This is actually the position group that returns the second most number of snaps on the entire team, and most on the offense. You are losing Jake Eichhorn, Trey Anderson, and Junior Sia.
Yeah.
But you return George Miley, Jimmy Liston, Tavo Motuapuaku. Like, that's your entire interior offensive line. 3 of your 5 starters are still on this roster. You do lose 3 of your top 6, so that's about half, but overall snaps played, a little over 60% of snaps returning, which at the very least means depth. If you do end up recruiting over these guys, that means you have really good depth, but you also have guys who can develop. And there's a lot of people concerning, like, if we're keeping the same guys from last year, is that bad because they were bad this year? But like, players get better. They get better year over year. And that's kind of the biggest key, is give them time to develop. That's why there's some offensive linemen they'll take 3 or 4 years to develop, because, yeah, if you threw them out there when they were playing their first snap, they would have probably sucked or might have sucked, but they get better. That's kind of the biggest key there.
Yeah, and there's some new guys coming in that we saw that was a point of emphasis in the early signing period for offensive line. But that's a point of emphasis that Utah State has to get better at, because it was a real weak point for the offense. We really got exposed on that multiple times, again, in the bowl game as well. And so they want to recruit. Talent always supersedes experience, But at that position, experience is also very important and very valuable. So having some of those guys back and having that experience back, more time in the system, more time to fine tune and improve who they are and what they need to do, those are benefits for Utah State.
Yeah.
But they still need to get better at that position, whether that's internal development or bringing in other people. It's kind of a combination of both right now for Utah State. So it's good the way that it's trending for Utah State's offensive line.
Yeah. So moving to the defensive line, kind of similar spot where they're losing some guys. Gabe Iniguez, Bo Miley, those are players. Basically, it's your interior defensive tackles because basically everyone on the outside are counted as edge rushers. Although the edge rusher position group is actually really small. There's only like 4 or 5 players that are kind of counted as edge rushers. But we'll get to them in a second. But with defensive tackle, like your return Carson Tujay, if I remember that's how you say his name.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I believe Tyree Morris. I wasn't 100% sure whether or not he still had eligibility. I need to based on the math I did in the preseason, I think he's got another year left, but I'm not always sure with some of these guys.
I believe that's correct. But
my preseason math had Gabe Iniguez having another year, but he was honored on senior day as graduating. So okay, check him off. I must have done something wrong there. But I think Tyree Morris has another year. If not, then the number does go down significantly because he played a lot of snaps for defensive tackle. So that 55% number is kind of contingent on whether I've done some of my research correctly or not.
So do you have Will Holmes at that position or
Will Holmes is an edge rusher.
Oh, okay.
So he's one of because their edge rusher, outside linebacker is what they're listed on Utah State's roster. Although I was using Pro Football Focus's position groups because again they'll do edge rusher, interior defensive lineman, all that. So with edge rusher, it's 80% basically, but a lot of that is Will Holmes and I forget there was another one of the edge rushers. I think Chris Joe maybe was counted as. I can't remember if he was an outside linebacker, edge rusher, or if he was an inside linebacker. But basically, everyone who is technically a pass rusher or edge rusher, there's 1 or 2 that are leaving. So a lot of returning production, but again, a very small group of players where that 80% is basically 1 or 2 guys played most of the snaps, and those 1 or 2 guys are coming back. Will Holmes being the biggest one, where he played 480 snaps. And he's got eligibility left, so he's making up the bulk of that.
Yeah.
Linebackers, you lose John Miller, but a lot of the other guys coming back. I mentioned, Chris Joe. I'm not sure which. I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me. I could tell you how all the players listed. But he's coming back. Bronson Olivau, I believe, has at least another year. So you do lose John Miller, but you've got a few guys there that still have eligibility. And again, ideally should be coming back for another year for the Aggies. In the defensive backfield, you've got some players returning. I have Brevin Hamblin as having another season, though as I've been thinking about it, I'm again not 100% sure if he has another year. I think he came here as a junior, though, I think. Again, some of these numbers are contingent on whether or not I've done the very confusing web of research. And I literally, for all these players, would literally go into their profile and count how many years they've played, whether they've redshirted, whether they have the COVID year, and I'm still getting it wrong sometimes.
Well, and with Diego Pavia stuff, if you played at a lower level, does that count against you?
I think that's what I did for Gabe Iniguez. I think I had him with an extra year for junior college, and it's their choice. They can choose whether or not to keep playing, or who knows, maybe Gabe Iniguez will transfer because that's what they'll get honored on senior day and then transfer somewhere.
Right.
Or honored on senior day and come back. I think we've seen that before. But yeah, Brevin Hamblin accounting for a lot of snaps at safety. Without him, the 54% number drops a lot because you're also losing Ike Larson. You lost, I think, a couple other players at safety. But at corner, they're also losing a lot of players. Noah Flores, who's transferring, Noah Avenger. There's also 3 Noahs, I realized. Noah Avenger, Noah Flores, and Noah White.
Noah White, yeah.
So you're losing some key guys at that corner position. You do retain guys like Bryson Taylor. You also lose Dylan Tucker, who I also had as having another year, but again, he was the guy that was honored on senior day, so it's I kind of have to go with that. So they're losing a lot of production at corner, have a couple of guys at safety. So they're going to have to do a lot of work for the defensive backfield. Whereas the rest of the defense will actually be kind of okay. There's some holes to fill. a couple spots in the defensive line, one of the spots at linebacker. But in the defensive backfield, they're going to have to get a lot of players to fill in, because they've not only lost some starters, they've lost some of the guys behind the starters to graduation or transfer. So on the defense, that's probably the biggest position group to target. And then with the offense, I guess, well, to be honest, in the offense, it's basically everything, because you're either losing everything, you have a starting running back, and that's about the only thing you're kind of satisfied with. Because the offensive line, you return 60% of snaps, but it's like we either got to develop or recruit over the guys you got.
Right.
Depending on, their evaluation of the guys they have returning. Assuming some of those guys, because Junior Cia left, he's a guy that could have come back and developed, but he chose to transfer. Do George Miley, Jimmy Liston, Tavo, do they all stay? That's something you got to figure out. But even then, you still got to address that offensive line position. So the offense has to address basically everything, and the defense has to address the defensive backfield and then fill a couple of holes in the front seven, along with some general development. So that's kind of the bird's eye view I was taking with some of these numbers, just based off of snaps lost. Obviously, within just the raw math of how many snaps you lost, you are doing evaluations. Like I said, with the offensive line, you return a lot of snaps, but are you comfortable with those being the guys going forward? If you think they're going to improve,
are they good snaps?
Yeah, if you think that they are going to improve and develop, then those are snaps that you're returning in their quality. You can and rely on them next year. If you don't think they're going to be good enough, well, then you still got to address that position group. But like at linebacker, you got Bronson Olival. Maybe you're only returning 60% of snaps at linebacker, but you like those snaps that are returning with Olival, and with Chris Joe being a freshman linebacker playing a lot of snaps. You like the potential of those guys. And like at edge rusher, they return the most snaps out of any position groups. But to be honest, I put that as one of my three things that they need to address the most, is they need to go out there and get an edge rusher. Because sure, the guys they have are theoretically going to return. At least they haven't entered the transfer portal or graduated yet. But they lacked impact players.
Yeah. That's a real emphasis that they have to try to find. Are they going to find if you're building a football team, your first player to try to figure out is your quarterback. It's your most important player. You probably need to find a left tackle, and then the edge rusher. And you can kind of debate, is the left tackle more important than the edge rusher? But those are your top three positions on a football team that you have to kind of start with as creating the most impact for your team moving forward. Yeah,
and keep in mind, basically all those revolve around the quarterback, because one is the quarterback, one is protecting the quarterback, and one is attacking the quarterback.
Yes.
Those are your three things. And then, after that, you go to wide receiver, and that's guys who catch passes from the quarterback. It's a lot of those things where you're basically building out around having a good quarterback and being able to attack opposing offenses or defense in the best possible way. Having a good quarterback, you can attack an offense with that. Having a great wide receiver, that's a great way to attack a defense, an opposing defense. Then with your defense, be able to attack the quarterback, and also great edge rushers will also set the edge, and that'll help you stop the run. There's a lot of things for the Aggies to address, but I don't think, again, with the number of transfers and graduations the Aggies have right now, it's not like this insurmountable Herculean task. They are not hurting for the amount of attrition they have right now. Obviously, things could get worse. We have until the 15th.
Right. Yeah.
So
we're not even halfway through this portal open entry period. But with this staff and how they develop players, there's a good number of players who we really didn't see much of last year that they will now start to have more opportunities for their name to be called if they continue to do the work that's necessary and start to improve themselves and be more connected with what the coaches are wanting them to do from players who are already in the system, but we just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
So we got to take a timeout here in the Full Court Press, though. But if you want to weigh in, love to hear from you. Got a couple texts coming in. We'll get to those on the other side of our timeout. But if you want to chime in, you're always welcome at 435-339-0321.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
There's no reason to wheeze and sneeze while around dogs and cats. The Allergy Clinic, located in the Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan and Providence on Gateway Drive, has an aggressive treatment for dog and cat allergies. Get the help you need. Stop avoiding friends and relatives' homes just because of their pets. Independent physicians Blotter, Robinette, and Deere offer Cache Valley a full-time clinic to test and address your allergy concerns. Most insurance is accepted. Call 753-7880. That's 753-7880 for allergy testing today.
Home at Darrell has a farm and appliance farm.
With down-home country prices and big city selection.
E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Home at Darrell has a farm. An appliance farm. Darrell's Appliance. Low overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. Call 753-5170. They provide the comfort you deserve at Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning, and they're dedicated to premier HVAC services, providing installations, repairs, and comfort, heating, cooling, and maintenance services available. Call 753-5170 for residential and commercial HVAC services. Getting to our Full Court Press text line. A couple of these came in tail end of last hour, but want to get to some of these. Some of them are maybe basketball related, but we'll get to them. It's 9315 saying, my player of the week is Eric, with how many days he was gone from the show. It also could be the stat that blows your mind if it breaks the record for the most days gone in a row for a Full Court Press host.
Yeah, he's usually the one coming close to setting those records because I will be gone for like a week or a few days, and
that is something I have never done before. I've never been gone for that long.
I feel like you did it. This isn't the first long trip you've taken.
I've never been gone for, more than a week, maybe 10 days at most. But I was gone for almost like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That was a long time.
I
was ready to come back.
I had to do all this stuff by myself. I mean, there was 1 week where I basically didn't even have a show. But Christmas was like one or two shows, basically.
Holidays makes it convenient for that. 5338 texting in. Nobody's talked about the biggest name in the transfer portal over the weekend. Nicolas Maduro transferred from Venezuela to New York.
Yeah.
Thank you, 5338. Little levity there.
Yeah, we need levity at this point, especially when it comes to politics.
8968 texting in. Al Lewis once told me when he did his show, when you have a bad experience with the team, all you have coming back is a bad experience. Yeah. It's right, because total number of snaps, it's an interesting metric. I think it's an important metric to look at, especially for the offensive line, just because that's one where total number of snaps, like experience in the game, does matter. But just because you have snaps doesn't mean that you're a good player.
Yeah.
So as I said earlier, talent supersedes experience. But at the offensive line, experience still matters.
Yeah, it's just,
how else can you develop that experience other than just getting on the field? Like that talent can be one thing, but you still have to be able to see the field and have that experience.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify sometimes with an offensive line because I remember in 2017 watching the offensive line and thinking this offensive line isn't even really that good. And then pretty much I think all 5 of them returned for 2018, and that was a good offensive line. Like, I know they played a bit of a cupcake schedule at times, but like they then went to Boise, who I think was like top 5 in the nation in sacks. And I don't think they gave up a single sack. Like they were an offensive line that performed, that got better. That's honestly one of the biggest examples I look at of an offensive line that didn't perform all that well in one season. And then they got better because they got some experience. Some of those guys in 2017 was some of their first, major snaps. They got experience. They came back. They were a lot better. Happens to a lot of guys. So yeah, if it's bad experience, they're not good, they're not developing, then yeah, coming back isn't going to help. But sometimes guys will not be as good when they initially start playing, and then they get better. I mean, we talk about that in basketball. Like, look at the first seasons of some of the freshmen who end up being pretty darn good players. Like Stephen Ashworth wasn't anything special as a freshman. Look at what he was able to do. Sam Merrill, he actually kind of was a little special for a freshman, but like was only a fraction of what he became.
Right.
And so that's where it's like there is some nuance there. And that's also where like I was kind of railing against like using returning passing and rushing yards and things like that. Like that's where you can maybe gauge a little bit more of like, okay, what quality of player? If I have a bunch of returning snaps at running back, but the guy averaged 3.2 yards per carry, like, that's not going to be the greatest indicator of what you have coming back. So that's where you can have a little bit more nuance to what type of production do the Aggies have coming back.
Yeah, so it's, there's a lot of needs, like all over the place.
Yep.
And so they addressed some of those with their recruiting that they announced in early December. Now it's the second phase really to address more or less to find players with some level of experience that you can plug in right now. As the list of players that you announced in early December, those are the ones that are likely going to be development players. Some of them might be able to be plugged in right away. And I know there's some discussion or some debate about the quarterback position. Do you allow those freshman quarterback to be in the mix right away, or do you give them a little bit of time to develop? And I think that answer just really depends on what happens in the portal period. Does Utah State get a player out of the portal that has legitimate starting experience that's going to be the front runner to be the starter on game one?
Yeah, we'll have to see. The Aggies did make an addition out of the portal. They added former New Mexico State defensive tackle. They've been doing that a lot lately. This is the 3rd year in a row that they have added a defensive tackle out of New Mexico State. Excuse me. There's Gabe Iniguez, then Naki Fahina.
Oh,
and
right.
And then this year, Ta'avili Tuitama. Defensive tackle, 6'3", 305 or 310 pounds, depending on who you ask. I believe he has 1 year of eligibility. He was a redshirt junior at New Mexico State. I actually can't even track down his full college history. I have 3 years. He was at Snow College in 2023, and the last 2 years he's at New Mexico State. And they say he's a redshirt junior. Nobody ever has listed what he's done. Like, he was in high school back in 2018 or something like that for Hillcrest. Or I think it was Hillcrest. It was a high school in Utah. Hillcrest High School. They named it Snow College. So I don't know what his full college history is, but I know at least 3 of the years. When he was at Snow College back in 2023, he had 40 tackles, 9.5 TFLs, and 4.5 sacks. And then last year, volume snaps played, but not a whole lot of stats, which that can happen to a lot of defensive tackles. Although he was more of a 3 technique, so it wasn't a nose tackle. At least according to PFF, he was in a 3 technique in the B gap. But 19 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. But he's a big dude. He's developed. He's put on more weight. Like back in Snow College, he was listed at about 283. Now he's at 300 plus.
Wow.
So this is a guy who's developed, and Gabe Inigas turned out all right. Fahina didn't play as much as I think we were hoping, but like Tuitama could come in. Like they have some guys on that interior defensive line who are they're hoping are going to come back, and you add Tuitama to that mix, and that should help. You probably maybe want to add some more defensive tackles just for depth, but like this is someone who I think you can plug and play, and fill out kind of the starting defensive line pretty well with him.
Yeah, so their portal opened on the 2nd.
Yep.
And it will remain open until the 16th. So we're only 4 days into this. So there's a lot more time here to decide if players are announcing to be in the portal or not. But there were a good number of players who were opting out of bowls because they announced that they were going to be in the portal and going to social media to announce their intentions. And coaches have been trying to figure out who those guys are, especially at places like Utah State, who started classes yesterday. So they're trying to find those guys that they can get here on campus as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
but it's still going to be another week and a half where players are going to be announcing their intentions.
Yeah, there's basically this first week is a lot of visits are happening. The Aggies are bringing in a lot of guys for visits. They had guys in for visits over the weekend. They had guys in for visits over the last couple of days. They're basically going to be spending most of these first 5, 6, 7 days having guys for visits. Get the guys to transfer that you can, to commit that you can. Like if a guy's willing to commit and you've done your scouting and heck, even if they don't come on a visit, because sometimes they don't have time for a visit, but like, if you believe you've found the right guy and you can't get him for a visit and they're willing to commit, then maybe you go with that. But they're getting as many people as they can for visits as soon as they can. I think after about a week, that's when you're gonna kind of see the deluge of commits begin. Maybe 1 week or 2 weeks. It's hard to tell because I don't know the full logistics of exactly how all these coaches tend to go about. But just looking at the timing, like the Aggies don't have a whole lot of time. They want to get some of these guys in as fast as possible, and that's going to require them to get them in like within the next week or so, because they're going to be able to get this Tuitama kid. They're probably going to be able to get him over to Utah State, and might be a little late, might have to do some makeup work, but like they can probably get him in for schooling. They did that with several players who committed around this time last year. Mind you, it was a different timeline because the portal opened earlier, but they committed in early January. There were some players who committed in early January and they got into class and were able to participate in spring ball. But for the Aggies, they're going to have to, after getting some of these players in for visits, they're going to have to start getting some commits. So you're going to see like when they get 10, 15, try and get 20 plus commits out of the transfer portal from junior college, that's going to really ramp up as we get to the middle of January. And just before the portal closes, that's when you're going to see this real acceleration, and from around the conference and NCAA as well. The portal commitments really trickle in early, and then they just flood in. Because you get a flood of portal entrants, a few commit pretty quickly, and then there's a flood of commitments.
Right, because then it's like everybody's doing their evaluations. Like, okay, now we know who's available. These are the players or the prototypes that we're looking for. Are they interested in coming here? Are they fits? Right. So you got to see what's available first.
Yeah, and getting guys in for visits as well. So
yeah.
That's kind of one of the biggest slowdowns at first is getting in contact legitimately, getting guys in for visits. And once those start to cycle through, that's where things start to go. So there's a bit of a bottleneck, a bit of a slowdown, but it'll pick up fairly soon.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's take a quick time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, some Aggies in the pros. Let's give some updates on what's going on with some of those, and a major milestone for one of these former Aggies here recently. We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Happy New Year! You survived the holidays. This is Jarek at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Did you meet the family during the holidays? How was that? Is it time to go engagement ring shopping? Valentine's Day is coming, but why wait? Do it now. Bring her in and view our collection of over 3,000 rings. With many of them being our own custom designs, I know we will find the perfect one. At Jarek's Fine Jewelry, we make it special. So come make it Jarek.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jarek's.
Over the past few years, strong and crazy weather patterns have battered various parts of the country. Northern Utah and southern Idaho are not immune from its share of wild weather. Be prepared for power outages with a Generac backup generator from Golden Spike Electric. They are your local source for Generac sales and service. Generac keeps you in control when bad weather strikes. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
New news from the Riverwoods Conference Center. All-inclusive pricing is now available for every occasion. Imagine your dream wedding, your daughter's quinceañera, corporate retreats, family parties, business conferences, or expos. Whether you're searching for a small private area, a breathtaking outdoor reception by the river, or an event that accommodates up to 2,000 people, the Riverwoods Conference Center makes event planning effortless with its perfect combination of beauty, service, catering, and now all-inclusive pricing. Visit theriverwoods.com or call 750-515 for more information today.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Medicare can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let us help. We'll answer all your questions and get you specific information that fits your needs. Medicare is not one size fits all. We'll help you find the right coverage for you. Call 752-9493. You can ignore the TV and the junk mail. We'll get you the exact information you need. We will help you access the benefits that are important to you. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321 for those who want to chime in on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Reminder that on our sister station, KVNU, they will be firing up game day coverage starting at 6 with J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes, and Jalen Moore. Excuse me. Getting ready for Utah State and Air Force men's basketball, tipping off at 7. Full play-by-play will be there on KVNU later tonight. But let's talk about former Aggies. We've been talking football, so let's keep talking some football here for a minute. And the regular season for the NFL concluded over this last weekend. A lot of coach firings that have been happening over the last few days. But included with that and kind of overshadowed is a milestone that happened just the other day. Very few football players have reached this milestone, and a former Aggie joins a pretty elite group. Bobby Wagner has surpassed 2,000 career tackles. Only 2 other football players have surpassed 2,000 career tackles. Bobby Wagner is now among them. Pretty special moment for Bobby with the Redskins. The Commanders, as he has achieved that honor and recognition. But 14 years in the NFL and consistent playmaking ability from Bobby Wagner. He is an elite company. What a great career he has had. And look, he was like a top 10 guy in the NFL in tackles this year. He doesn't show signs of aging or slowing down.
And I think it was a few years ago, or maybe even a year ago, I was on the show being like, Bobby's maybe a bit over the hill, and he'll start slowing down. And then he has 162 tackles this year, which is like his 3rd or 4th most in a season. So, yeah, he's not slowed down. Mind you, he's playing 17 games, whereas other seasons he was only playing 16. But still, he is continued to be a tackle machine, and not only does he have kind of the single season dominance in some of these with the tackles he's had, and where he's been, an all-pro or Pro Bowler in almost every single one of his seasons. There's only 2 seasons of his career where he wasn't selected to the Pro Bowl or All-Pro. And one of those was a season where he only played 14 games. So that was probably an impact there. But as you mentioned, only 2 players have more tackles than him. The great Ray Lewis, 2,059 tackles. Then London Fletcher, wasn't he another Redskins great?
I think he was.
Actually Redskins?
Yes.
Of course, he also played for Buffalo and St. Louis, but yeah.
Because he was at the game on over the weekend and gave Bobby Wagner the game ball, and because he was there in person to recognize Wagner's achievement, getting 2,000 tackles.
Yeah, and it's an exactly 2,000 tackles. That's where he currently sits. And this year, I believe he passed Junior Seau at some point during the year for 4th all-time, now 3rd all-time, excuse me. He was 4th, now he moved into 3rd, and if Bobby Wagner decides to play another year, he'll become the all-time career leader in tackles because he's 59 behind Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
Which is like half a season's work.
Yeah, he should be able to get that, you'd think.
We'll see if he does, because you never know. Like, how is he feeling at, was age 35? So it's like he'll be going into his age 36 season. Like, that's tough. But Bobby Wagner is also a tough dude.
Yes.
So
as a linebacker.
And I think it makes for the argument that you could argue that the Aggies have the 2 best NFL players out of colleges in the state of Utah, because they got a guy in Merlin Olsen who's arguably the best, and Bobby Wagner's up there as well.
Let's see, 7854 texting in, where does Bobby rank as far as all-time great Aggie football players? Number 2 behind Merlin Olsen?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like where you're talking about as far as like his college career or his NFL career, like if that's what you're going on. Because Merlin Olsen, as far as like best Aggie players in a Utah State uniform and best players in an NFL uniform, he takes both.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
Was Bobby the best defensive player in a Utah State uniform at the time? Even best defensive player? Like, even aside from Merlin Olsen? There's a really good argument that he's not. Like, he was good, obviously, really good, but there are players who had more dominant careers in an Aggie uniform. As far as NFL players, yeah, pretty clearly number 2 behind Merlin Olsen.
Yeah, but if you look at professional career, Anthony Calvillo's got to be up there. But he was in the Canadian Football League.
Canadian League.
So it's like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, doesn't make a sound. Yeah, it's almost like the stat. Nothing. We like Anthony Calvillo and what he did. It's a fine accomplishment, but it was in a league that is not as recognized as the NFL. So those are nice numbers and those are nice accomplishments, but it doesn't seem to ring as true as what guys have done in the NFL.
Because I think at one point, and maybe still Tom Brady might have broken this, but like he had or has the most passing yards of a professional football quarterback. And I believe to this day, unless somebody's done it in the CFL since I last checked, is the only professional quarterback with 6,000 passing yards in a single season.
This is bonkers.
But it's in the CFL.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's kind of the caveat to that.
But yeah, Bobby Wagner, I mean, he is on the Mount Rushmore of NFL linebackers. I mean, he maybe doesn't have like the highlights that some of the other linebackers have had over the years, but he has Super Bowl experience and Super Bowl wins. But his superpower has been his longevity, and he has been a solid, reliable linebacker wherever he has gone. And as you noted earlier, like I when he went to the Rams, I thought, this may be a last gasp for Bobby, and it didn't really work out for the Rams. And then he went to Washington. Okay, we
went to Seattle first before he went to Washington.
Oh, that's true. He did. He went back, and it didn't really.
And that felt like
work out.
That felt like a farewell tour. Oh, I'm coming back for one last ride.
So retire here. I'll end my career here. Then he goes to Washington, and he's still producing.
Yeah.
So the question is, when you think of NFL linebackers historically, is Bobby Wagner among the top guys?
Yeah. I think
statistically he's in the conversation. But do you think of him like you think of Junior Seau or some of the other great historical linebackers in the NFL?
I think part of the issue is that there is kind of an inflated legacy of players of bygone eras where people are unwilling to let go of them as the greatest players. Like, Nikola Jokic is doing things that have like almost never been done. And people are like, is he a top 10 all time? I was like, no, because this player and this player and Larry Bird and this guy and this guy. And it's like, players will come in and be better than the players of bygone eras, but we're unwilling to relinquish. It's like, this guy is a top 10 player all time. Well, he might get pushed out. And so guys of previous eras, fantastic linebackers, are they pushed out by guys like Bobby Wagner? Maybe, maybe not. There's also a guy like Luke Kuechly, which, in my opinion, he's one of the best linebackers of all time. Is he statistically anywhere near Bobby Wagner? Not really, but he was dang good. In terms of career statistics, I think in terms of single season, he was absolutely fantastic. But longevity doesn't have those same things. So it's like there's a lot of nuance they end up introducing this, and it's also a question of, are you willing to, like, is he better than Brian Urlacher? His whole thing was he's one of the greatest of all time, and just go back through all the different fantastic linebackers of previous eras. None of them have as many tackles, but like, they were fantastic in their time, but do they eventually get replaced by players who came later, but were also better? But it's hard for some people to mentally like overcome that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's no question he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's going to have the gold jacket. He'll have his bust in the Hall of Fame. But is he on the Mount Rushmore? I kind of threw it out there, but kind of flippantly, but is he? He's certainly in the top 3 in tackles, overall tackles. He's had a longevity and has been that middle linebacker to anchor some great defenses over time.
I mean, if he gets the tackle record, there should just be a place reserved for him just for that. Like, if you hold a record for most tackles in a career, you get a spot on Mount Rushmore, like, just because.
Yeah, if you hold an NFL record, like
that,
yes, you deserve special recognition.
Yeah.
7994 saying, using your logic, that nothing that J.C. Carroll did in Spain counts. I just disagree.
I didn't say, like, I wasn't going one way or the other. I said there's 2 ways that you can look at it. You can look at it of, great Aggie because of what he did in an Aggie uniform versus great Aggie because not only was he good as an Aggie, but also what he did as a pro. There's some players who have both. There's some that kind of have one or the other. Usually they have both because you tend not to get to the pros unless you're a great college player. But J.C. Carroll he's a lot more known as an Aggie for what he did in an Aggie uniform, because most Aggies did not pay a single bit of attention to what he did in Spain. They kind of heard about it and know, but like, how many people actually watched J.C. Carroll play for what he did in his European career, as good as it was,
or know where he stands in the rankings for the Spanish league or whatever?
Like, he has not made a name for himself as a legendary Aggie because of what he did in Spain. Was it good? Obviously. But,
I think generally, I think you're right. I think fans generally knew J.C. Carroll is playing in the highest level outside of the NBA. So they recognize that he's in the Euro League. He's playing at a good team in the Euro League, but nobody could really cite like, oh, he was the 3rd best 3-point shooter of all time for Real Madrid or whatever it is. I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. But so he had a nice career professionally in Spain, and that's awesome. But Sam Merrill, what he's doing in the NBA, I think is getting a little bit more recognition because it's the NBA. So the NFL versus the CFL, they're different worlds.
Yeah,
and so it's nice what Calvillo did in the CFL, but we weren't watching it every Sunday on Fox or CBS.
Yeah, and it's like that's where it's like, what Calvillo did as a professional will statistically be probably better than what Jordan Love ever does in the NFL, but everyone knows Jordan Love from being in the NFL. And like with Sam Merrill, like his NBA career obviously already surpasses what J.C. Carroll did, but you'd probably argue J.C. Carroll being the better Aggie basketball player because of what he did in Aggie uniform was, you could debate this, but you would probably say it was better than what Sam Merrill did. I mean, from an individual statistics standpoint, Carroll's was better than Sam Merrill. You could argue Sam Merrill, some of his, conference titles and big shots were maybe more impressive. There's a debate to be had there, but you could debate that J.C. Carroll was a more impactful Aggie because of what he did in the uniform, even though Sam Merrill has surpassed him in his pro career compared to what J.C. Carroll did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance to this conversation. That's why I brought up there is a nuance to that conversation. I didn't want to say one was right or one was wrong because, like, Damian Lillard wouldn't really be that notable of a Weber State alum. He was really good when he was there, but, like, would he be nearly as influential and beloved as a Weber State Wildcat alum if he didn't go on to become Damian freaking Lillard? Like,
Dame time?
Yeah, like that's a big part of his legacy at Weber State is he not only was he really good, he got overshadowed because he was playing in the Jimmermania era, but his status as a Weber State alum, like in his kind of status as a Weber State legend, became even bigger because of what he's done in the pros, whereas he was just a really good Weber State player, arguably one of the best, but has become a complete legend for essentially being probably the best pro basketball player to come out of a Utah college. I can't think of another one off the top of my head.
At least not at that level.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He's first ballot Hall of Famer, spectacular player. There's been some good ones, but I don't think anybody on the level of Damian Lillard.
All right, we got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, stat that blow our minds, player of the week. If you've got recommendations for those, we will take them. 435-339-0321.
Retirement. Are you ready? Adams Wealth Advisors specializes in preparing you for a secure retirement. There's no reason to feel frustrated. The team at Adams Wealth will create a personalized plan that includes timing of retirement, reliable income sources, Social Security, estate planning, and more. Adams Wealth Advisors has a team of CPA, certified financial planners, Social Security experts to help you plan and retire with confidence. Call today, 752-1702, or visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com. Your dream retirement starts here.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 5th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Snow and black ice are here to stay for a while. If your tires aren't ready, neither is your vehicle. At Express Auto and Tire, they work with all vehicles and all tire sizes, making winter traction and safety their top priority. Name brand tires are always less at Express Tire. As a Point S Tire location, you're backed by a nationwide warranty. Get winter ready with no appointment needed. 3200 North Main.
Express Tire, tires for less.
Where tires and service come together.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A few years ago, I saw this sign hanging in a gas station. It said price, quality, service. Pick 2 out of the 3. Now, it's funny, and I did laugh, but at My Mattress, we don't even want to do business unless we can do all 3. Price, quality, and service. We have a 90-day sleep guarantee, 90-day price guarantee, and we will answer the phone if you have a warranty concern. At My Mattress, we deliver, we have financing, we strive to be price, quality, and service every day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, 435-339-0321. Got a couple texts coming through before we get to our stat that blew our minds and our player of the week. 9315 saying, I saw a post on Twitter where a BYU fan was making fun of and saying no way that Bobby Wagner should have a statue next to Merlin Olsen at Utah State. Then proceeded to name a bunch of no-name BYU players at that position and clamoring that they were way better than Bobby. What an idiotic statement.
That's why I say it's like BYU fans are maybe a little bit prickled by the fact that if you really break it down, Utah State probably does have the 2 best NFL players to come out of the state of Utah, at least as far as Utah colleges. I know they'll immediately go to Steve Young, but Steve Young is obviously a Hall of Famer, deserved it.
Yeah.
But Merlin Olsen and Bobby Wagner are in the conversation for best players ever at their position, and Steve Young's nowhere near that conversation.
Yeah, that's very true. 5338 texting in the 5338 player of the week, actually a coach, Jason Beck. He went from coaching at the doormat of the Mountain West Conference to coaching a perennial national power in 1 year.
There you go. That's a rise in the ranks for you.
That's quite a 12-month span there for Jason Beck. And then 8968, how is Hanty to say it? But what about Danny Ainge as one coming out of Utah?
I mean, one of the better ones. The problem is that there's actually kind of there's not been a whole lot of really good NBA players to come out of Utah colleges. A bunch of decent ones. I mean, Andre Miller was one.
Yeah, Andre Miller had a nice career.
He was like the only other guy I could think of. I mean, you had, was Sean Bradley. Of course, he's like number 2 overall pick, but didn't really live up to it.
He didn't really have a great NBA career.
His most famous highlight is getting dunked on.
Yeah. Danny Ainge won several titles with the Celtics.
Okay, but I could have won several titles if I played for that Celtics team.
Well, you still had to make the team.
There were 4 Hall of Famers in that starting lineup and Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
Like, that was the bond. Like, Danny Ainge
still had to make the team.
I could have scored 5 points per game just by the fact that nobody would pay attention to me and I could maybe hit a couple of shots. Like, that's how good those Celtics teams were. Danny Ainge happened to be there. But he was obviously probably... off the top of my head, he has to be in the top 5. I can't think of many others, but it's obviously Damian Lillard, and then there's just, all right, go figure out everybody else.
Yeah, for the NBA, it's true. Let's talk about the stat that blew our minds and our player of the week. Which one are you feeling like you want to do first here, Jason?
Stat.
All right, let's do the stat.
Let's take a look at the numbers. It's the stat that blew our minds.
He did what?
On the Full Court Press.
Wow, that blew my mind.
All right, you got a stat that stands out to you this week?
Yes, it's one that I think we might have highlighted at some point in the stat because it was mid-season and it was something that was crazy that it happened this long, but it was wrapped up this week as the New York Jets reached, as one writer has justly put it, a historic low. So the New York Jets, their
they
defense,
never got an interception.
They did not intercept a single quarterback all season in 17 games. That has not happened since 1933. Mind you, the NFL was founded in 1920.
Oh, my word.
And there were a lot of teams not passing the ball very much back then. Although they threw a ton of interceptions for how much they threw the ball. So, yeah, it's been basically 90 years since a team hasn't intercepted. And mind you, we've gone through 12-game seasons, 14-game seasons, 16. We're at 17 games, and they managed to not intercept a single pass in an era where there are more passes thrown than ever before. The New York Jets, just absolute pure incompetence.
That's crazy. I've got an NFL one as well. There have been over 60,000 field goal attempts in NFL history. And Tyler Loop's miss on Sunday night for the Ravens is the only one of those 60,000 that came as time expired in the fourth quarter in the final week, with both teams' playoff hopes resting solely on the result of that kick. Do you like all the qualifiers there?
Yeah, that's a lot of qualifiers, but it's not like one that was like, it was also on a Tuesday and from this specific distance.
Where
and
the
all
barometer was at this level and 40 degrees.
And above 6,000 elevation, or I don't know what elevation they're at, but in that game. Yeah, my boy got death threats for that, though.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of degenerate gamblers decided that they wanted to be degenerates.
Well, if he makes that kick, do they still have their head coach?
Maybe.
They don't make a head coaching change. We're short on time, but quickly, your player of the week.
Decided to go with Elijah Perryman. There's probably several deserving players, but Elijah Perryman stepping in, playing his best game. And I guess this is another stat. He's the first Aggie since 2019 to have a double-double as a true freshman, or as a freshman. And then I think he's the only freshman for Utah State to ever have a double-double with points and assists.
Wow. I like that. My player, I got to give it to Bobby Wagner for his accomplishment this weekend. Finished 5th in the NFL in tackles this season, in his 14th season playing professionally.
Pretty good.
And hit the 2,000 tackle mark. Very impressive season for Bobby Wagner. That'll do it for us tonight here in the Full Court Press. Having a great night, everybody.
Sports Talk Radio, KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, and online at 1069thefan.com.